It's Troy with MilSim Canada again. I've had some requests to go over my rucksack, or more so just how to pack a rucksack. Again, there's probably a million videos online, but maybe people just like seeing my face. So thought we would go with my pack. I don't always use this pack. It's a little bit larger than some events require, but I will be attending a 3-day event, so 60 hours in the States soon, and I think this pack will show a little bit better representation of how to pack. Again, some of it might be a little overkill, larger amounts than you probably need. I think this would be a great pack to show off. So this is, I think it's towards 60 to 70 liters. I don't know the exact numbers. I got it at a surplus. It's a US Marines surplus backpack, a rucksack. And the only things really modified to it are I was able to purchase these side pockets, these side pouches on both sides off Amazon, luckily, and to add a little bit extra on the sides, just so I can, with MOLLE space, you don't want to overload, but being able to have equal weight on both sides, I was able to figure that out. So we'll start off with, let's start off with the sides. So with ruck packing, you're generally going to want to keep your heavy weight near your shoulders here, on top of here. You're going to find your lighter weight stuff on the sides are going to be more comfortable. If you have heavier weight and you're moving side to side, you're going to find that weight shifting you around. It's going to add more wear and tear on you, tire you out faster. So inside one of my pockets, I keep some spare stuff, like I have my gaiters here. I'll probably have this on before the game, but sometimes I don't, right? Smaller things like that, maybe extra gloves, that sort of thing, are great for the outside. They're not going to take up a lot of room. On the red item list, we have like a military style poncho. It's a requirement with some of our AOs being up in mountains, especially taller mountains. Weather doesn't always say what the app says. Being able to quickly deploy this to cover your gear, cover yourself, make a quick shelter. This is just a good piece of kit to have. Again, it is mandatory. We do want players to have something like this. It doesn't have to be this exact brand, exact colors. Generally a poncho with grommets so you can tie it as like a tarp is the reason why we ask players to have these. I can keep it on the side. It's a little bit on the heavier side, but I find for my body weight, it doesn't add any extra. Again, we have gloves. These are my winter gloves. I find my hands get cold while I sleep. I find I sleep better with these on. Not everyone needs them. We're gonna go to the other side. So on this side, just like what I call the extra stuff thing, I used to have everything kind of loose. I find I'm better organized if I have little pockets. It might add a little weight, but not having to dig around for like a lighter or paracord, extra shoelaces, batteries, that sort of stuff. Just having it in one pocket to be able to quickly take out and deploy without having to look through individual, those little pen slots, stuff like that. I find I end up just not knowing where it is, and just having one spot where it could be makes it a lot easier for me. I keep my food stuff here for cooking. So I just have a jet boil. I've had this since 2018, since my first MilSim. And it's held out for that long. I go with the bigger one just because it's better to have it than not. You could probably, generally if you have a fresh one, you can go with the smaller canister. You're never gonna go through this much an event. Like you would be cooking for your entire platoon. I just have it. It was easier for me to buy, and I find it doesn't affect me weight-wise. So let's just pop those back in. A little cup in case someone's making coffee, or I wanna make some hot chocolate or something. Let's pop these back in. And then so on the top, different kind of rucks. Not all of them have a large thing like this, but I find I pack the light stuff up there. There might be some ruck guides that don't suggest this, but I found the guides that I've trained off. Some of you might know I work with the cadet program. I have done a couple field training exercises with them, and I do, part of the course we do is teach us like hiking techniques, so packing rucks, foot care, proper gear while on a hike. And part of my training that I do when I teach these classes is how to pack one of these. So up here, I keep my underwear, extra t-shirts, all my extra socks. So my rule of thumb is an extra pair for every 12 hours. So you have your first pair, you're gonna probably be wearing that all day in the parking lot, but you can probably get away with it until you go to bed. From every 12 hours on after that, you should have a fresh pair. When you're in a real, military simulation, you're not going to be, or military situation, sorry, you're not going to always be able to have 20 pairs of socks, for every 12 hours. It's not realistic. So I also pack, somewhere hidden in here is like foot powder. I always have like a little Ziploc baggie. You can foot powder, shake up, get it in there, let your socks dry out. It will feel fresh and usable relatively. You're not going to be able to do it indefinitely, but I do find if you are in a very wet event where you might be going through more pairs of socks than you're prepared, at least just having the foot powder will make you feel better, might stop rot, trench foot, that sort of stuff, athlete's foot, from starting or progressing. Let's go deeper in. So what we were talking about earlier, having heavier gear up near basically your middle spine, up above your shoulders. I keep the heavy stuff there. So I do not like bladders. I think hydration bladders just don't mesh well with me. I find if I have to refill, they're just too much a pain in the butt to do. So I go with Nalgene's. These are 1.5 liter Nalgene's, so they're a little bit bigger than the ones you normally see people walking around with. This is my what I call my sustainment amount. In the TACSOP, we say you should have at least 3 to 4 liters. I have 1 liter on my fighting gear, another 3 liters in here. You can even go a little bit more. We do supply water. We do make sure that there is drinking water throughout the event. It's the only thing we supply. So don't cut yourself down, but you should be able to have the ability to fill up. So even if you don't feel like carrying this much water, you should have the ability to have it. So when we do refill, you will have the water when needed, even if you don't want to ruck with as much. A few other things. So I have what's called a boo-boo kit. Lightweight, but this is going to have like creature comfort stuff. It's not an actual first aid kit. I carry like wet wipes, lighters, sunscreen, Pepto-Bismol pills instead of having to have the whole bottle. I bring allergy pills. I call these ones poo pills in case you got diarrhea, so anti-diarrhea pills. One thing I think that stands out a lot from the rest that a lot of people don't always have is something I think is a lifesaver is athletic sponge tape. I get this from the dollar store for a couple bucks. You can get it from Shoppers, wherever. If you feel like your boots are going to give you a blister, this stuff will help. I've had myself, I've had cadets, I've had friends at other MilSims starting to develop really bad blisters. I've had times where it was almost my entire foot was a blister. So I've learned that lesson. I find the tape stuff, you can get like the tape essentially to put on your blister points. I find it doesn't work. I find just wrapping your heel and sometimes your upper boot chafes. Just in this, it breathes pretty well. It's semi-reusable. I think it's a lifesaver. Last event I attended in the States, I had a friend who had basically both feet covered in blisters, was planning on tapping out. I wrapped up his feet and within 20 minutes of kind of getting comfortable and used to it, he was there for the rest of the event. He survived the whole event without issue. We were able to readdress it later on again, but you can reuse this stuff. So it might not be reusable indefinitely, like you can't reuse it at the next event, but it is something you can use, and I think it's not so mandatory, but if you do think you're going to have blisters, your friend's blister, I think it's absolutely worth picking up a couple of those rolls of tape. For my foods, I work with the cadets, expired stuff that they can't serve the cadets I've been given. Can't buy this stuff on the shelves. You're going to probably only see it if you're in the military or if you're involved with cadets. If you're getting like wet MREs, jars of food, whatever, you're going to want to pack that, again, that front area here or your back area, because I'm going for a 3-day event. I'm packing an extra 3 meals worth of food. It actually adds up. It's actually probably at least 10 pounds worth of food sitting there. I keep the main meals here, and I normally keep my snacks on my fighting rig. Having it there, again, stabilizes the weight. Some people will have boots. They'll probably keep their boots up top. Again, they weigh a bit. If you are bringing a spare pair, I have spare like fleece gear This is just surplus Canadian stuff. Whatever warm gear you feel like you're using. Again, because it's a longer event, I have a spare kind of uniform. These are the spare pants, just in case you get wet or something happens to your original pair, you rip something. You want to have at least pants. You can normally live with a ripped shirt. It's a lot harder dealing with ripped pants. So if you're going to bring any gear, you don't have to double up on everything. But I think a pair of pants is pretty smart. And that's the majority of it. We're now going to go into what I call what is my sleep system. Everyone's a little bit different. I tend to go on more of the extreme things. I have some examples of other stuff you can grab too. I know I mentioned earlier, I'm not sponsored by anything. This is all just personal stuff I have. Not a single thing has been given to me. Every one of these things has been purchased by myself. So this is just typical thing. You've probably seen these 1,000 times. I got it off Temu for 10 bucks. It might not be as warm as some of the local commercial stuff, but I find it's totally fine. I've done 2 or 3 things now near freezing or below freezing. I just did a cadet weekend recently at -3 at night, and honestly, that was probably the only thing not cold. Was that my feet were cold, my hands were cold, but my whole body was completely fine, and this was part of it. When you're often ruck packing, if you're lucky enough to have a large enough ruck that has 2 compartments, you're gonna want to keep your sleeping stuff at the bottom. So for me, I have a separate compartment. So I have my sleep system and I have everything else. Sometimes you don't have that. It is still recommended to have your sleep system at the bottom, even if you only have the 1 compartment, because it's the last thing you're gonna be using. You're gonna be setting up shelters, you're gonna be eating, you're gonna be doing everything else. You want that at the bottom. You don't want your useful stuff at the bottom. You don't want to have to pull out your sleeping stuff to get to your spare pair of socks. Don't do it. Pack smart. This is why I'm making the video. You can get what is called Primo-Off suits. Primo-Off suits are like winter suits. These are the, matter of fact, the Russian ones. The ones he showed me were the American ones. I do have some American stuff too. Primo-Off is a great winter system. It just goes over your gear. I can wear my boots while I'm sleeping because I basically make this my sleeping bag. So I keep my boots on, zip on. By the time I put the jacket and this on, I'm basically in a sleeping bag suit. This allows me to get up and fight, basically unzip my next item and get out immediately into the fight without having to put my clothes on. I can basically wear my uniform. I've generally changed into a new shirt or something, but I can switch into that immediately. I literally hop out, grab my gun, go defend my base, whatever I need to do. This is a bivy bag. This one is specifically the French surplus, called CCE Woodland. The reason I picked this one over some of the other ones is I'm a bigger guy. I'm 6 foot, not massively tall, but I am 240 pounds, so I am bigger. And with wearing the poofy suit, with wearing the other stuff, because I'm wearing my uniform, so I tend to be quite big. I found the French ones are quite long. I can fit in it. I don't feel claustrophobic. I have room to move around, and it's still waterproof. So a bivy bag, for people who don't know, is a biovac back bag. A bivy bag is basically a sleeping bag that's designed to be is waterproof. So you slip this over your sleeping bag, your blanket, your Woobie, Primo-Off suit, and this is like a little tent that you can sleep in. If you really have to, you don't even have to set up a tarp. You can just, they're designed generally to be like a mummy. You can put it over your head. You generally want to make sure you figure out a way to get breathing correct because they are often sealed. So don't make my mistake and almost make yourself pass out by sealing it too good. I think bivy bags are not the minimum standard, but this is, if you're going to get serious into MilSim, having a bivy bag is going to make your life a lot easier. And I think if you're going to be into it more often, you should you should bite the bullet, get one. Unless you're willing to spend a ton of money on the most one-man light fighter style tents. Those are generally quick deployed, those are fine, but I find you can go a lot more places with this. It packs up this small. You can sometimes pre-roll stuff inside of it. I like keeping it separate just so it breathes better. That's a bivy bag. I also have like what's called a ground tarp. This just keeps bugs, keeps the mud off my stuff. This one just happens to be the Serbian N10 camo. Doesn't matter which ones you get. A cheap, try not to get blue, try not to get bright obvious colors, but a cheap, 5 foot by 6 foot or whatever tarp just to keep you and your stuff off the wet ground, off the mud, off the dirt is recommended. You can sometimes build your shelters where you're gonna have a slightly larger tent and like an L shape, so you can use part of the tent as the ground pad as you swoop it over. Another video I might do is show how to build some shelters, because to be honest, you don't need a tent. You don't need a bivy bag. A bivy bag does help. You can do a lot with just a sleeping bag and a tarp. It is more than fine for 99% of scenarios. And then I just find that my feet get a little chilly, or my face gets chilly, or I want to walk around camp. I just have like a lightweight wool, wool blanket. This isn't anything crazy. You can replace it with a woobie, maybe just anything extra, even just like a fleece blanket to keep you warm. But I just like this guy. It's something I've had for a long time, and I don't have to worry about getting it dirty or anything. Last bit, I always, part of the red item is having garbage bags. So I normally have garbage bags. I have them here because they're quick to deploy. It's just an easy pocket to pop them in. I highly recommend, is a trick. I don't have any on me, but I will be buying some before the event. Contractor grade, the largest size you can get garbage bags. In a pinch, work in a million different ways. You can use it as a poncho, cut your arms out. You can use it to put your rucksack in. The large ones, even this large rucksack will go in like nothing. You can use it as a bivy bag. If you feel like it's gonna get extra rain and you're worried about wind or something, you can slip your sleeping bag inside of it. And some of them, like if you buy the right ones, they are big enough to actually fold up over your head if you really want to. So a poor man's like bivy bag, you can absolutely do it with a large contractor grade bag. You want the thicker stuff, a couple millimeter stuff. It's gonna be $1 to a bag, so you're looking at 20, 30, $40 for a container, but that's gonna last you a long time at MilSim. I use it all the time. I always keep spares, and because I'm an administrator and stuff like that, I do carry extras, just in case someone else needs it, or I want to set up a collection point for garbage. Main point of the reason why I get this rucksack. Yes, the larger capacity is important. For years, so I've been MilSimming since 2018, playing airsoft since 2011, like actively at fields, even a little bit before that in high school. For years, I just had normal backpacks. You kind of suffer. When I had a chance to get a frame, it's a game changer. Having a frame with this much weight, it's like shaving 30 pounds, like 30% off of what you're carrying, being able to carry that much more. I don't think I will ever buy a rucksack without a frame now. Once you've tried it once, you will. I've never met anyone, you probably won't meet any veteran, any active duty guy, any guy who does this seriously, who wouldn't recommend having a frame. Hunters do it, everyone does it. Sad to make a mistake, and it took me almost, 7 years to figure that out and finally do it. And now I can do a lot more with this. I go on large hikes with this fully act. I feel like I can carry a lot more. Having something with a kidney pad, a waistband to go around is good, because it's going to allow you to shift the weight if you are going to be rucking further. It kind of depends on the AL and what we're doing. If you're going to have something large, you want something there so you can switch the weight between your shoulders and your hips. Make sure it's comfortable, make sure it's in good shape. That's pretty much it. Not every rucksack's the same, they're going to be built different. Generally, you're going to have a large compartment, side pockets, or the ability to have side pockets. Some designs are like the Hunter designs, where it's basically one giant pocket. Same thing, you want to put your sleeping stuff at the bottom. Stuff that you want to grab immediately, like your poncho, maybe some, like your cold rain gear, if you have to pull it out immediately, should be on top. Somewhere in the middle should be where your food and water is. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully this was informative for you guys, and we'll see you at our next game soon.